Good morning, this is Robin Bieber on the Crude Spread Talk on the 17th of July at 7:40 in the morning London time. As a general overview, WTI and Brent front structure looks okay, a little bit stuck but looking okay. The back, the deck Junes and deck red decks look a little bit stuck and suffering from the same malaise as the flat price stuck in a range. But now dealing with the front structure, here's SpreadTalk Brent, this chart here. It's got a positive stochastic, which is good, but it needs really to break up and away above this 21-day moving average of minus 13 to give it a good chance of running up to flirt with backwardation. At the same time, it must not close back below around about minus 18, the 8-day moving average, or it probably slips down into the mid-20s. It's a little bit of an either-or situation. The positive stochastic suggests that it's got some upside potential, and the 60-minute chart this morning is suggesting also a little bit more upside potential over the next few hours, but it needs to get over the 21-day at minus 13 first. Now, the OCNOV, not a very different picture, needs to get over minus 17 to give it a fighting chance of a move up to, say, minus 10, minus 9. It must not move back below minus 21, or it's going to explore the lows again close to minus 30 and potentially lower. It's got a positive stochastic, which is good, which suggests more tests of resistance. And indeed, the OCNOV 60-minute chart is suggesting there may be some upside over the next 2 or 3 hours. So generally speaking, a little bit more work needed on the front end of Brent, over minus 13 on SpreadTalk, over minus 17 on OCNOV to give it some upside, and it must not close below the short-term moving averages just below. So now moving on to the back end of Brent and the deck June, stuck. It needs to get over minus 120 to give it some upside to around minus 110, minus 1 area. Equally, it must not move and close below the minus 126, and we're very close to there, the 8-day moving average, or it slides 10 cents to minus 137. The 60-minute chart is too illiquid, really, to draw too many conclusions, but suggesting that we should go in and push a little bit higher this morning. The deck red deck, no upside whilst it's below minus 216, no downside whilst it's holding minus 227. It's stuck between the 8-day 227 and the 21-day minus 216 area. Over 216 and we're back to 190 area. Below the 8-day at 227 and we probably test minus 242, the 34-day moving average. The 1 hour chart on the left here is suggesting, albeit very thin, suggesting some upside. Now moving over to WTI, and we've now moved on to SpreadTalk, and it's really stuck in the embrace and locked in the embrace of the short-term moving averages. No upside whilst below minus 15, no downside whilst holding minus 17. It's as simple as that. It's right in the middle of these moving averages. A break over minus 15 would suggest a move to minus 9. A failure to hold minus 17 would suggest some lows down to the mid minus 20s. It's got a positive stochastic, which is helpful, and the 60-minute chart is certainly suggesting a little bit of short-term upside for the morning. Now the OCNOV is also stuck in amongst the moving averages. It needs to get over minus 13 to give it some upside to minus 8.5 area, and it must hold the 34-day at minus 15, otherwise it dips down to the mid-20s. Really just stuck. It's got a positive stochastic, been moving sideways for a while, and the short-term chart is too illiquid really to draw too many conclusions. May get a little bit of early morning downside pressure. And looking at the back end on WTI, the deck June, similar to Brent, it needs to move and close over minus 70 to give it some upside, which it has failed to do over the last 2 days, and it needs to move below minus 86, the 8-day moving average, to give it some downside to minus 99 area. It really is stuck between these moving averages with no clear direction. The 60-minute chart isn't really telling us anything. And the deck red deck, equally stuck, needs to get over 127 to give it some upside to minus 80, and it must not close below minus 154, otherwise it's giving us some downside to 176 and maybe even lower. The 60-minute chart is suggesting some downside pressure on this spread this morning, so I would expect it to slide down to minus 143, minus 148. That's all for today, folks. Good luck, good trading, and bon appetit.